Hello. Welcome to this brief story about Shukai record label. Thanks for coming. Shukai in Ukrainian, if we translate it from Ukrainian, means look for or hunt, and this is basically what we were doing for past more than 10 years already. So what we are doing, we are an archive record label focused on bringing back to life recordings, I would say lost tapes, which is called lost tapes. So basically the recordings from 60s, 90s, music for films, television. Up? Okay. Hey, maybe like this. Okay, music for films, television, and music of outsider artists from Ukraine. The label is established in Ukraine in 2018, but as you can see there, the 2012 is strike through. It's basically the time when we actually started to work with the archives in order to find something. And only in 2018 we released our first record. So we primarily focus on what's called lost tape, that I already told you. And basically the material that has never been released before due to various reasons, like the artists were dissidents, banned artists, persecuted by Soviet time, censorship, etc. And this is what I will be talking about today. But we also make some reissues material that was previously released on tapes, mostly DIY and limited editions, but still officially have a release date. Like for example, one of our latest releases, like Cukor Bila Smert, it's from 90s. Then also Alexander Yurchenko, also from 90s. And those are reissues. So basically those tapes were somehow released before. As you can see here, like there are some photos of the original cassettes. Those were DIY, like 30, 40 copies, but still they were released. And this is not that like interesting in terms of the archives, because it's just you just need to find the tape and then ask artist or his relatives to release it. So what we did with Yurchenko or Cukor Bila Smert, or for example, the Svetlana Nyanya, Transylvania Smile, which is also from the 90s, and it was just a release. Well, actually, it wasn't released before. Yeah, that one was in the private archive. So yeah, I'm actually mistaken. This one example is from the 90s, and this whole album was on YouTube. Somehow it was uploaded there like 10 or something years ago. People were listening to it, so basically it was published, but not officially, only on YouTube. And then we found it on YouTube and released it as a vinyl record. But my focus today is to talk more about the material that has a relation with the archives. And I mean like the national archives, private archives, and yeah, that's more interesting. It's more about the real archive works, digging and investigations. So I will try to talk about the most interesting insights and highlights. The lecture consists of 3 parts: how it started, how it's going, and the future plans. Well, actually future plans and missed opportunities, because I will also be talking about some releases that unfortunately we would like to release, but we can't due to various reasons like license or copyrights or whatever. Or, for example, the source material is lost forever, and we only have like a lo-fi copy, like a digital copy, and it's not possible to release it as a vinyl record. So as you can see here, it's not a one-person label. There are three of us: me, Dmytro Nikolaienko, Dmytro Prukhin from Kiev, and Sasha Tsapenko from Odessa. So how it started and why, as I already mentioned, it started in 2012. Was the first time I actually started when I was alone and I only had a Muscat record label. I started to think about the label that would release both materials like new music and old music. So basically the archives and contemporary music, but somehow they would sound like something similar. So there is a really impossible to define whether this is a new material or is it an old material. And only if you look at the label and you realize that, okay, this is something from the 70s, but this is something from 2010, but somehow they sound similar. So that was the idea when I started the label in 2012. And Muscat, etymologically is a syllabic abbreviation of two words, music and cutting. And the label was founded by me in Kiev. In the time when the label was created, I was alone and again was planning to release on the label those old and new materials. As for the old part, one of my first ideas at that time was releasing music of Kiev Nauch film, which can be translated to in English as Kiev science film. So basically this is a Ukrainian film studio dedicated to scientific documentaries, educational films for schools, universities, about such subjects as physics, chemistry, psychology, popular science, and experiments. The studio existed from 1941 to 1993. Let me show you an example of their production. So, as you can see, there are a lot of drawings, like illustrations, black and white, diagrams and whatever, like scientific stuff. This particular one is about the Big Bang theory and gravitational fields. And of course, this was super inspiring at that time. Then when I started to investigate and dig deeper in order to find the composers for those documentaries, many of them weren't even titled in the film. Like when you have the credits and in the end of the film, there are most of the times there were no credits for the music composer, and that was actually breaking the whole investigation idea, because it was like a dead end. Like how can you find whoever did this? And I had some other like sources when to find it. For example, there were directors of the films. There were some other people around, like editors, sound engineers, and then you start to actually find people through those contacts, like a second circle. And so basically, I I've been looking for those videos and documentary on YouTube, and I revealed some issues and problems I didn't know about before, and like problems like for some composers it was impossible to make music for mainstream films due to various reasons. For example, they were dissidents or banned artists. Some were completely banned or were sent to Siberia, so they couldn't make anything. Some were allowed to work with without being credited, like here, for example. Some were allowed to only make music for niche documentaries and animation films, which had limited audience. Like, so this is not mainstream. It has like limited audience, whether those are the students in the universities or in the schools, or the children that are watching the animations. And basically the dissidents and banned artists, they were only allowed to make that kind of music for this type of the audience. And this is why they weren't even credited. So for them it was like the only way to survive, to make something for a living. Some composers didn't want to be credited. Actually, those were also the cases. As for them, it was just freelance, like easy money, quickie. Even for us, 30, 40 years later, the music sounds experimental and fantastic, but for the artists, for those artists, it's not. Some of them were against when we contacted them, some of them were strictly against the idea of actually releasing their old works, and they didn't like it back then, at the time of the production, and they don't like it like even now. So it was really hard to convince some artists to release some material. Sometimes just like the artist fee helped to do that. Sometimes composers weren't credited because the director simply and illegally sometimes, as usually in the USSR, used some Western electronic music, like Kraftwerk, the Jean-Michel Jarre, or Tangerine Dream, and other popular electronic music of that time, and they just like imagine they just took it from some real tape, and that's all, because nobody never questioned what is the source of this music, how did it appear here. It was just music they just copied from somewhere, because it's not a mainstream. It's just like a niche materials and documentaries. Sometimes I recognized the stolen music myself, but sometimes I used Shazam application where I didn't know the music, but I wanted to make sure it's an original stuff. It's not something stolen from somewhere, and it's worth to continue investigating like the origin of this music. And this example of the Kiev sci film, when I was preparing for the lecture, I found in my archives, in my personal archives, a proposal from 2015 for the Ukrainian Cultural Institution that describes. So this is like a proposal that describes an idea and plans for the Kiev Science Film Studio compilation, with the examples from other countries like UK. So the one on top is the compilation called BBC Radiophonic Workshop, with the artists like Delia Derbyshire. Basically, the BBC Radiophonic Workshop was something similar to Kiev's science film. It was like a group of musicians that were doing innovative at that time music for BBC production for their channels and the radio, like soundtracks, also for the documentaries, animations, and so on. And the other example is the Dutch compilation called Philips Research Laboratories, because Philips factory also had its own sound laboratory with a lot of different new, at that time, synthesizers and what's not. And these two were like the references for my proposal. Actually, at that time, the proposal was rejected, and somehow I forgot about this idea. But when I was preparing for the lecture, we were talking with my colleagues in Kiev and Odessa, and we actually decided to renew this plan. But yeah, compilation is super long in production. It probably would take us from 5 to 10 years, I believe. But yeah, I think it's worth it. And yeah, they also here is why I wanted to release documentaries, soundtracks in the first place. That's because they were a huge inspiration for me personally, for my own music as a musician. In 2015, I released an album dedicated to studios like Kiev Sci Film or BBC Radiophonic Workshop and other electronic music pioneers of the early electronics and experimental tape music. And this record is called The Sounds of Pseudoscience. So I reused some of the visual elements that I was showing you before from the Kiev Science Field documentary. And I also created my own nonsense graphics and diagrams to match the idea of this like nonsense pseudoscience aesthetic. And this is why, yeah, I still wanted to release the original music from those documentaries. Now let's talk about our first release as a label. It's called, here is a teaser of that record.
Приготовиться к эксперименту.
We try to do these funny teasers every time we release something. And this one is Viktor Vlasov, the air seller. Viktor Vlasov is a musician from Odessa. This is our first release from 2018. First experience with the senior artists from that era, and first experience with the real archives, like the Odessa Film Studio. In Odessa, they have their own archive. How I found this material, I was usually watching some old Ukrainian films on YouTube in order to get kind of entertained, but also potentially discover some interesting, mysterious gem. Some really cool audio material, to release for the first time on vinyl. That was the idea. So we take something and release it for the first time, and nobody released that before. This was 2018, but we started to work on this material much earlier. We wanted to match the vibe of that time, because from 2012, maybe even a bit earlier, it was a really huge hype. People were reaching a lot of stuff everywhere in Europe, in the United States, and we thought we should do this as well, because there is a heritage in Ukrainian culture that hasn't been released. And yeah, we saw it as our mission. And yeah, one of those was a science fiction film, The Air Cellar from 1967, from a production of Odessa Film Studio. Here are a couple of other screenshots from the film. It was an interesting soundtrack, some non-standard jazz, some songs with abstract lyrics, poetry, some electric organ-based proto-ambient. We started to work on this release with my colleague Sasha Tsapenko. He's from Odessa, so he had a possibility to just go there and talk to people in the Odessa Film Studio. But yeah, it hasn't been that easy. People in the Odessa Film Studio, they were pretty much skeptical about some other people coming and asking for a material that they're going to release on vinyl. Like for those people, it's like, why somebody is going to release something on vinyl? It's like an obsolete medium. So for them it was super confusing. So it took time for us to explain like the idea of the heritage and so on. So it's not only vinyl, there is also digital and so on and so on. The composer, Viktor Vlasov, he didn't have a copy of his work in his private archive, and actually it was even illegal back then. You couldn't store a copy of your work at home on a tape. After you finish it, you need to give it back to the studio, and then they store it in the archive. So we spent 2 years on the negotiations with the Odessa Film Studio regarding the source material from the film. When they agreed to give us the tapes for a couple of days or a week, I don't remember exactly, so we can digitalize them somewhere else, as their own tape machine in the Odessa Film Studio was broken. And before they gave us the tapes, like the ones that we hold in our arms, those are the tapes. This is our first ever experience with the archival tapes, and that we happily hold in our hands. Before they gave us this box, this plastic box, this is our plastic box, not theirs. We signed a document that obligated to pay. So the document says that we will be obligated to pay 200,000 euros if, like a fine, if we lose those tapes, which was risky for us, like to transfer the tapes from Odessa to Kiev, but reasonable for them, because it's a national treasure. It's priceless. It's like, yeah, national treasury basically. And so here you can see it's 2018 in Kiev when we transported the tapes to the National Media Archive in Kiev. Yeah, it wasn't that smooth, as you can see on the image on the right. We literally had to restore the tapes because they were in a very bad condition. So we basically had to, before digitizing them, we had to transfer the tapes to Kiev National Media Archive, where they still have a few pro levels tape machines, like Studer, so where they still have those machines in a good working conditions. And by restoring the tapes, I mean we had to manually unwind and then wind them back to roll. So the like the original roll, like the like the tape, the real tape has to look like not like the one before. So the before state is above, and this is the reality of the Odessa Film Studio archive. Probably the tapes were damaged due to wrong storing condition, like too high humidity or too low temperatures, or everything at the same time. And here are a couple of videos here. Yeah, this is we trying to unwind the tape. that wasn't that easy. Yeah, and then the successfully rolled tape is being digitalized. Yeah, just a couple of other images from the National Media Archive in Kiev, which is much better than the Odessa one. At least, yeah, people seem to be more professional, and they store everything in a proper condition. So yeah, that was our first release, and the second one, this one is Alice Through the Looking Glass animated film soundtrack from 1982. Also Kiev Science Film Studio. Composer Volodymyr Bystrakov. Let me show you a couple of minutes.
I'll tell you all about it. The room you can see there, that's just the same as our drawing room. Only the things go the other way round. I'm sure it's got, such beautiful things in there. How would you like to live in the Looking Glass house? Oh, Kitty, how nice it would be if we could only get through. I know, Kitty. Let's pretend there really is a way through to the Looking Glass house. Why, I do declare, it would be quite easy to get through there, Kitty.
Alice hardly knew how she got there, but in a minute she was up on the mantelpiece, and the looking glass was beginning to melt away.
Yeah, as you can hear, the sound is fantastic, and yet this is why we were interested in this particular record. This time we were lucky, as the composer, Volodymyr Bystrakov, had both the source audio tape, which was, yes, illegal, but he had this habit of actually storing all the copies of his work at home, and he has a very high discipline in self-archiving. So he actually stored almost all the works he's done historically, but unfortunately not everything. He doesn't have at least 2 other materials we were planning and really wanted to release, a couple of others, animations, really great soundtracks, some electronic music, but unfortunately he didn't save it, he didn't copy it for himself for some reason. Maybe he wasn't really happy about those, and he simply re-recorded something on top of it. That is also one of the problems that we made. And he said, when we asked him about the material that was gone forever, he said, well, actually I can replay everything from scratch using his modern virtual scenes on his personal computer, which is not a good idea for us. We don't want to release something like it's basically fake. If someone is going to replay something, it will be identified by anyone else that it sounds modern. Like there is no sense in like replaying, rewriting the material that was gone. So it's much honest response to that is just forget about this. And yeah, we also later released his other work for Kyiv Science Film Studio, this small 7-inch, also for the animation, short animation film called The Battlefield from 1986, which is even much more electronic. If Alice from the Looking Glass is kind of electroacoustic, there are electronics and also the acoustic instrument, but this one is purely electronic. And it has some kind of like proto-acid house, really cool stuff. And we also later tried to find even more material from this film, but to release it on a 12-inch. But unfortunately, the material is only for 7-inch was available. But even though there is one or even two tracks that weren't in the original film, so those are really like unique tracks that are they didn't make it into the final film, but they are on the record. Yeah, so this is what we are really happy about this. And this is him home studio. This is where he was supposed to rewrite all those other soundtracks that were missing. By the way, this is a very common thing that we hear from senior musicians and artists when we approach them and ask about some specific archival or old material. Most of them says, why do you want to release that old bullshit? I was young and now I don't really like this material anymore. Here is a flash drive or this CD with my new material that I just recorded recently. So let's release this. So then we start to say that we are the archival label. So it's not our cup of tea basically. So we try to like make a polite rejection anyway. Yeah, and another big part of any release is the visual part, the artwork. So for this part, we contacted Dovzhenko National Film Archive. They store the original 35mm master film tapes, and we were lucky that most of the films that we are interested, the original tapes are stored there. Maybe some of them are not original, just some copies, but still they are in good shape. And we were able to scan the specific frames in a high resolution for print, like because just a screenshot from YouTube or whatever wouldn't give us this quality. And just a couple of sounds. As you can see here, this is already the part for the film scanning. This is the master tape that we came to the Dovzhenko Film Studio to. Well, it's not necessary to come because you can simply say them, please scan those, you give them just a timeline of what you would like to scan, and they simply give you the file, send you a Dropbox or whatever. But we wanted to come and see and kind of document this process. So this is how this looks like. The scanning process in the National Film Archive. And the end result. Yeah, this was again a teaser that we made out of the material that we scanned. Yeah, some really nice, good quality, high quality, high resolution frames. As you can see, there is like a frame from the film where the characters are dancing on top of the label of the vinyl record. So we actually recreated it on this record. That was also fun to make, and like a nice Easter egg. Yeah, and here is our third release. Valentina Goncharova, Ukrainian that lives in Estonia since 84 or something, 1984. We released two volumes of her recordings, and this was the first time when we actually released not we initially wanted. And here is why. So basically, I moved to Estonia, to Tallinn in 2018, and I met Martin, who is a director of the label called Frote. He also releases Estonian stuff, like Estonian archival stuff. I'm gonna play this record later today. And he told me that there is a lady in Tallinn. She's Ukrainian, and she makes really nice, interesting music. You might be interested. And basically, he gave me her contact, and he sent me this video to YouTube. This track is from her album that was released on Leo Records in UK in 1988. And yeah, when I heard it, I loved the track immediately. And I called Valentina to ask her about the potential release. We agreed to meet at her home. Then we actually found the other tapes that appeared on this record. So kind of a fun fact that the video that Martin sent me to YouTube was posted by David from Light in the Attic Records. We didn't know him back then, and later we teamed up with him on the various artist compilation even the Forest Hums that we made together with Light in the Attic Records. But yeah, this is just weird to think that how everything is connected. But coming back to Valentina and why we didn't release what we wanted, so I came to her and asked her about this specific track and the album, which is called Ocean. It was already released before, so it's not an original stuff. We wanted just a reissue because the material is great and it's never been released on vinyl. But she said that this vinyl is already in progress. There is some other label that is working on the reissue of this stuff. I was like heartbroken. I said, well, okay, that's pity because I really wanted to release it. And she said like, but you know, I have some other tapes in my in my wardrobe. And she gave us those tapes. Like I don't remember how many, maybe those even not the exact number she gave us, but yeah, we were completely surprised. We were super surprised about the material that never been released before. So she was just storing it until if we wouldn't ask her about this material, I don't believe it would been released later. And this was such a surprise that there are not only her solo works, but they were also her collaborations with different artists like Pekka Airaksinen from Finland, and he's a huge musician in Finland. And I was surprised when I just read his name on the tape, and there was like Valentina Goncharova and Pekka Airaksinen. I was like, what? And why it hasn't been released before? Like that's not possible. And this is how tricky it is when you want to release something, but then you find something even better because it's an original material. It hasn't been released anywhere before. And the reason actually why it hasn't been released, at the time she released the Ocean album on the label from UK, that she wasn't happy about this material, and she simply never showed it to anyone. So she was a bit like afraid that people would judge her about this horrific stuff. So this was a super surprise for us, that people underestimate their own production, their own music. Yeah, and she also gave us a couple of photos that we scanned, and another fun, or it's not that fun, of course, that you can see there is some brown stuff on the tape, and I was like, I thought maybe it's just some oil or something, but another surprising stuff is that those tapes survived fire in her apartment in Tallinn. So she lived in a wooden house before, and you know, in Estonia, like in Finland, there are a lot of these wooden houses, and yeah, those that house was burned down, and luckily the tapes survived, and Valentina as well. Yeah, that's another fun fact, or not that fun. Then we were celebrating the release. As you can see, the records are there on her table, her work desk, in her home. And on the left, it was the first live concert of her material that she never played before, because it was stored in her apartment for years. And we convinced her that she actually need to tour with this stuff. And then she toured a lot. Like she was touring like crazy recently. from like 2020, and she's still touring. She played in iconic places and festivals like Cafe Odată in London, or Crack Festival in Belgium. Yeah, and people really like her stuff, and we are super happy, and she's also super happy about our collaboration. And the sad story that we released 2 volumes, but there are much more material. There is much more material, and we asked her. We've been constantly asking her about the 3rd volume, because we made a compilation for the 3rd volume, but she is still against. So she said that this is the worst. So those 2 records you released, like, that's enough, because that 3rd one that you are planning, this is total bullshit, and people will stop inviting me to the concerts and the festivals if they hear it. But unfortunately, that material is also great, actually. But she's the master. She's the owner of this material. And another example of the same story, like we wanted to reissue Vodograi, which is another cult funk band from Ukraine from the 70s. Here is this record, like a 7-inch. And the problem, the idea of why we wanted to reissue this record is that the original record on the online market, Discogs, it costs about 100 euros, and most of the times when we see this, we need to reissue that, because then it will cost like 10 euros, not 100. And we contacted the musicians, the art director Alexander Shapoval, and he said that there is a problem with this release, as it was released on Melodia label, the famous Soviet Union label, like the one and only. It's a monopolist, and they own this license for this record, and they were afraid that if they would allow us to release it, they were somehow persecuted in Russia. And they said, no, let's forget about this. Again, we were disappointed, but then the owner of the band, Alexander Shapoval, this, by the way, the track from this record. So he said that he actually has another recording that he thinks that we would be interested in. We were like, okay, let's listen to it. And what he gave us was this recording. It's called. It's basically those are the same guys, the same band, but with under other name, like not Vodograi, but Shapoval Sextet. It's more jazzy, more experimental, as we now know. But nobody heard it until recently. It was the real lost tape, or I wouldn't say lost. They just didn't want to show it to anyone. And It was a live recording from, as you can see, the black and white poster on the right. It's a poster for this jazz festival that happened in Donetsk in 1976, and this is a live recording from that concert. It's a bit lo-fi. We actually spent a lot of time on the sound quality improvement and restoring and mastering. There were 3 other different engineers working on that, because each time the result wasn't that great, because it's the original material, the original tape is distorted, and it's the high frequencies were damaged a lot. And anyway, the other parts and the mood and vibe in general is great. Again, when we came back to home and just listened to the file that he gave us, like the digital copy of this tape, we were like, what's going on? Like, we never heard anything similar in Ukraine, like not in modern times, but like never, like this spiritual jazz, whatever stuff, and it was much better than this 7-inch, which after you listen to this one, you realize that it's just like a cheesy funk. And yeah, we were again super happy that we were so lucky to get this. There are different vinyl collectors, musicians like Giles Patterson approached us to say thank you about this release, and yeah, we gave him a test pressing for this record. Yeah, let's have a listen a bit of this. This is also kind of an experimental material, because they were playing live at the festival, and they were using a lot of reel-to-reel tape machines. So they playing different sounds that were pre-recorded as a background of their live instrumentation. So yeah, I never heard that anyone in Ukraine would actually use this technique before, because this is super experimental for that time. Even, I mean, in Ukraine, in Soviet Union, of course, not in the world. So when we were talking with the artist Alexander Shapovalov, he said that. So we asked him why they didn't try to pitch this material to even to Melodia label, for example. He said that they already knew that this would be rejected because it wasn't quite socialistic stuff and maybe even too nationalist, because they used the aggressive at that time like language about the war of the Cossacks, and yeah, the whole mood is pretty aggressive, I would say. Yeah, they say that they were convinced that it wouldn't pass the censorship. Yeah, and here is Alexander back then and now. We took this image in his home in Kiev. At some point, when we came to him and presented the record, he was very emotional and actually started crying a bit while he was listening to the record. Yeah. And at the end of my lecture, I would like to say a few words about our future plans. I still hope it's a future plan, but like there is little hope. So this project has been on hold for more than 10 years because there are many problems with the material for this release, and I'm talking about Vitaly Hadzatsky. Vitaly Hadzatsky is one of the so-called Kiev avant-garde of the 60s, and basically that was a group of the dissidents that were making like avant-garde music, and they were all banned. They were basically they were banned from profession, and the only things that they could do is to making films for documentaries and like to survive, just to earn money for living, to make soundtracks for Kiev Science Film Studio for documentaries and animation films, and they were credited only like 1 or 3 times because of that, because they were like the members of this underground avant-garde movement from the 60s. And but they were all banned in USSR and only became well known after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And then they started to gain like recognition, but still there is still the problem that all of their materials, it's either lost or in a bad shape. So, for example, here is a soundtrack for the documentary about a Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Sofia in Kiev, the documentary from 1966. And he was credited here as well. That's 1 or 3 times he was credited. And the problem is that the copy of this sound is in such a bad shape that I don't know. We would maybe try some AI stuff to at least to try to improve the quality, but yeah, it's an awful shape, and there are many examples of such things, like the material is in a bad shape, bad state, and or lost completely. Here is another example of his experiments. This is much more experimental. And this is our main interest of his music. Like apart from his avant-garde piano works, this is pretty experimental tape music, like a tape collage of like micro sounds. This one is from 1968. It is also not in good shape, unfortunately. But we're still trying to find this. At least there is hope, and there are people that saying that you need to try there or there. There's different sources where some private collectors that were buying stuff after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they might have it, and there are some contacts, so we're still continuing this investigation. And here is Vitaly. We made this picture 5 or something years ago. This is him showing us his own, he created his own visual language to write music notes. Like, this is fantastic stuff. I never seen anything before in Ukraine. Of course, it's similar to what Stockhausen was doing, but he knows about him, and yeah, he was trying to follow his methodology. But for Ukraine, it's very cool. Here is he showing us his archive. So basically, those are the cassettes and reel tapes in the plastic bag, but they are in a bad shape. Like, it's a copy of a copy of a copy, and we can hear it, and there is nothing we can do about this, at least now. So this is the end of my story. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, we will continue doing what we're doing, and if you have any questions.